Welcome back into another edition of Colby's Corner here from Lane Stadium after Virginia Tech just defeated Wofford by a score of 38-6. A much more tame, but also much more excited Lane Stadium walking out here on Saturday, September 20th. And first off, I think you got to give credit where credit's due. We started the last couple of days on a much more negative note, but Virginia Tech went out and handled business, albeit against a much, much lesser opponent in the Wofford Terriers, probably one of the worst teams in FCS as seen in SP Plus and other metrics, but still really, really good. Obviously, with Phil Montgomery just stepping in as the head whistle to regather, get this locker room together and play together here. And we'll get into some other notes of not everyone being available and playing, but still overall, I think a really, really good effort to step in and accomplish that in such a quick turnaround from last Sunday and the news that was. So first off, I think talking about the victors, we'll start with the winners, Virginia Tech, that defense. Holding Wofford to negative rushing yards, -1 rushing yards for Wofford throughout the game. I thought guys like Kamari Copeland, Kelvin Gilliam got in there. Elijah Fall, man, he got the start, and they played really, really well. I mean, Kamari Copeland had the pick. He had a couple tackles for loss. You had guys like Michael Short getting sacks. Just really consistent pressure. Wofford could not get anything going in the rush game. Also in the pass game, like I said, Copeland with the pick. Only had like 140 passing yards. The defense really stepped up. Now, like I said, a lesser opponent, an offense that has really, really struggled against even lesser competition, but still to get out there and bounce back after the ODU drubbing, after the Vanderbilt second half, just to get some confidence under you. And sticking with the defense, if we're going to stick on that, I thought a really, really bright spot was those true freshmen that got in on defense. You saw Jamari DeLoach with a big pass breakup on the south end zone. You saw JoJo Krim get in the game, make a couple big tackles. I thought Sheldon Robinson had a couple MAs maybe back there at safety, but overall, I thought you were really promising with him going out there playing fast and physical, which is all you can ask for those true freshman guys. Specifically on the defense, I thought that was really, really encouraging with those true freshman defensive backs because I guess getting into it, you got to talk about it before we'll talk about the offense. There were a lot of players that weren't out there and not exactly with injury designations. People understand the situation. Brent Pry was fired last Sunday. That opens a 30-day window for the transfer portal. And a lot of these guys that sat out, it's become a business. You have to make business decisions. Philip Montgomery was asked in the post-game press conference about some of those guys that sat out. Was it injury related? He sort of obviously avoided the question, talking about some of it was injury related. Some of it was obviously based on their redshirt status in the past. You saw Quentin Reddish not play. You saw Caleb Woodson not play, Caleb Brown. And in that cornerback room, when you already lost Dante Lovett earlier in the week, no Caleb Brown, you had no Quentin Reddish. I thought that's what made it so impressive for those true freshman guys to step up and play like they did. I mean, you saw good reps out of Thomas Williams. And like I said, Wofford's offense didn't really test them that much down the field, but I thought it was really impressive for those freshmen to step in such a situation like that. Shifting over to the offense for Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones by far had his best game of the year. I think 27 of 32, 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. Took 1 sack that was a little questionable. He looked a little gimpy at times, but for him to go out there and operate, you had to see it to just get bounced back, build some confidence in the team, in the staff, and the receivers around him. I know lots been made about his play early, and rightfully so. You live and die by the quarterback. I think he would own that as well. But for him to come out here and bounce back, and lots going to be made about it. I wrote about it a little bit. The offense was taking what they were given. Wofford was dropping into zone, dropping deep with the safety. So obviously the check down game was really open. Now, is that the most exciting game to watch? No, but it kept them ahead of the chains. It kept the offense moving. They scored a lot of points, which is what people have been clamoring for. So when they do that and then you don't see the big shots, it's a little confusing, but at the same time, you understand you're going to be going up against a lot higher level competition, and they're going to be able to take out the check down game and some of those things. But I thought the run game was also really good. Marcellus Hawkins got lubed up there in the beginning, and he got slippery, got a couple big breaks. I thought obviously PJ Prelo, a bunch of catches. PJ Prelo had 7 catches for 65 yards along a 24. I thought Pop Watson, when he came in, he ran the ball effectively. Braden Bennett obviously started the scoring. First rushing touchdown of the year, Braden Bennett. I don't think many people would have expected that coming from a running back at the running back position at least. But yeah, that was definitely good. But then you saw those things that sort of came to pop up again. That first drive, they take the ball all the way down the field, and then they get stymied on 4th down, and Drones get stopped. You saw it against ODU where they had, get back in that game, and Drones fumbles. Drones fumbled again in the game. So there's still couple of those reoccurring things on offense that rear its ugly head, and against competition like NC State, let alone a Louisville, a Miami, uh, that margin's going to be a lot smaller than against Wofford. Talking about it as we're looking out, Nat Lane Stadium is completely empty, but definitely it was very interesting to see. In my 4 years here, being a student or covering the team, I've yet to see a Lane Stadium look like that. Even at the 11 a.m. Wofford game in 2022, it was very, very odd to see the East Side, especially the student section, so sparse, even for Enter Sandman. I had friends, I had parents. It's Parents Weekend texting me saying, like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. Now, also, not to be left out in the situation, it sounds like there was a gate issue in getting people in, which, if that's the case, then like a lot of these issues we've been talking about, besides the stuff on the field, a lot of this stuff goes a lot higher up, and hopefully you can get those procedures fixed. I know obviously it's very prevalent at a lot of different places amongst college football, difficulties getting into the stadium on game day, but something you really don't want to see on a noon kick, beautiful weather, homecoming, military appreciation, and people can't get into the stadium in an effective time manner. I heard some people waited at a gate for up to an hour before the kick before they got in. So I'm not sure if that's the case, but still, it was definitely sparse coming off Brent Pryce firing and the ODU result, even on Parents Weekend. So that was something to note. But just spinning back to it, those true freshmen, and so much is going to be made of this next week, this next month, the end of the year, who's still going to be playing on this team. But I thought you definitely saw some guys playing very inspired football and still bought in. Talked to Aiden Green after. He said he sort of took it amongst himself to make sure that this team was still together and make sure they knew what they were playing for. I thought him and Kelvin Gilliam, they really owned up and summed it up saying, Brent Pry obviously is the head coach of the football team, but we're the ones making the plays. I thought Tyson Flowers said that eloquently after last week's game against Old Dominion, where he's like, these guys are coaching, but they can't go out there and make the plays. So they all definitely felt a little bit responsible, and you saw guys come out here and want to, I guess, avenge Coach Pry and play for him. And I thought you saw that in effort from different guys. Devin Alves, obviously, someone you heard so much about in fall camp, making the transition from the defensive side of the ball to wide receiver, and then he makes that big play. Has another first down catch, and his first real action ever. He finishes with 2 catches for 32 yards and the touchdown. I think it was a 19-yard touchdown. But even on those 2 slants to him, to Alves and Aiden Green, Drones looked in rhythm, and you hadn't seen much of that year. So I thought that was really good to get his confidence up, going 27-32. Not seeing the ball hit the ground a lot. He was even looked a little gimpy. He definitely maybe missed some plays that took the top off, but Phil said they called those plays and wanted the shots, but they just weren't there. So he liked how he stayed in rhythm, stayed ahead of the chains, and something to build on. The running game, I know a lot was made of where Terrion Stewart was. Coach Philip Montgomery said he's still a little banged up. He expects to see him next week. We'll see. We'll have a lot of news on the site this week about availability, portal news, and just obviously a lot of different things, because obviously a lot of the guys who sat out or didn't play today were not all injury related. You didn't see James Jonkum having VIP note up on what I'm hearing on that situation over on the site, vtscoop.com. I'd definitely go check that out. We'll have a lot more this week on that. But just touching on some other things, the biggest thing is really who's going to be playing for this team next week against NC State and beyond that. The window will obviously stay open until October 13th. So these guys have some leeway to make decisions, and that's up to Coach Montgomery and the rest of the staff on how they're going to deal with that. Just going into some bigger topics as we sort of wrap up, and I'll get into some chat questions. As you saw today, Arkansas lost. Oklahoma State lost last night. Clemson is losing right now. Memphis obviously just beat Arkansas. There's one other game that I was monitoring. Oh, yeah, Maryland just took out Wisconsin, so it looks like that could be up. It's going to be a really, really, really UAB's it's looking like it's going to be a really, really, really crowded carousel as opposed to a year ago. And that was already expected. But when Virginia Tech goes ahead and puts that pressure on even a lot of these other schools and makes a decision to fire Brent Pryce, same with UCLA last week, and you see all these jobs that are prospectively most likely coming open, it's going to be a really, really crowded carousel. You're hearing a lot of names right now, and a lot of these names are going to have options that maybe even higher quality suitors. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I wasn't watching the broadcast, but a lot of the broadcast was made up. I got text talking about Mike Vick, talking about John Gruden, talking about all these other coaches. Agents are talking a lot. You're hearing a lot of really surprising names come up. right now it's so early. Like these committees are still sort of being formed. So it's like when you hear a name, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But it is really interesting. I wouldn't rule anything off the table. You're hearing a lot of different things from donors, hearing a lot of different things from prospective search committee people. Like agents obviously are pushing names. So there's still so much to play out. But I think that is really an important aspect. Like all these names that are getting brought up right now are not going to be available because a lot of other high quality jobs are going to come open. And I think that is really important to say because Virginia Tech, I think, still holds itself at a pretty high echelon as a job overall. But and I think the alignment will grow, and we'll talk about that with some of this funding news. It sounds like it's going to be coming out here soon. There's still a hierarchy in this, and I think a lot of other jobs that agents, coaches see as higher stepping stones are going to come open, and maybe take some really coaches who are high on the board off the table for Virginia Tech. But then moving into that funding news, obviously, a lot's been made about the Board of Visitors working towards that $200 million athletics budget. Sounds like we might have some details on that here soon. I know it was projected to be 200 million. That might be slightly revised and edited in those materials. Make sure to stay tuned into vtscoop.com on that. Had some really late news last night on that. There's a great thread over there that came out late last night. Worked the phones, tried to figure some stuff out on that, but we'll have some more clarity on that this week. And like I said, I know I emphasize it on here every time, but definitely the best place to go get your info, especially in this season, coaching carousel. A lot of off the field stuff. I know it's really college football is all about what's on the field, and we talked about that just a little bit. But when you fire your coach 3 games in, I know a lot of these players are still bought in, obviously so, but you're essentially punting on this season and trying to build for the future. And they obviously have laid the groundwork. We've got a great pin thread over there that has all the updates to keep you updated ahead of this. So definitely check out vtscoop.com. 60% off promos ending here soon. Appreciate the support, everyone, jumping in here right after the games. But yeah, I think it's really big for these guys to get that monkey off their back. I know this was a game they're obviously expected to win against a much lower FCS opponent, and you saw it. I mean, they out-talented them, out-physical them. They took care of business like as expected, but definitely still big to get the confidence up for Kyron. All these wide receivers getting in motion. I thought Donovan Green had a couple plays that could have gone his way to drop the touchdown. John Love obviously missed that big 59-yard field goal, but and then Kyler Lowe took that last extra point. But it was really, really valuable to get a lot of those true freshmen rotated in because depending on how this next month shakes out, these guys are going to have to be playing valuable snaps down the stretch. And I think a lot of the leaders on the team did a really good job of keeping guys bought in. Now, obviously, some other people, they have to make personal decisions that are best for themselves. But I think overall, a lot of the leaders on the team have done a really good job of keeping the guys together and coming out here and really feeling like get one back for Coach Fry. So I thought it was a good first game for Phil and Montgomery. I thought the defense really, really stepped up after those last 6 quarters. So much has been made of that, but just to hold Wofford to negative rushing yards, see the pressure up front, secondary played great. Some of those young linebackers, I thought, stood up and played a little bit. I thought Caleb Spencer, he earned the start. He had a really nice game. So that was nice to see. And how about the young offensive line? I thought Aiden Lynch had a really nice game. Tommy Ricard, I know Cunningham was in there. Altuner, I know he had the penalty, but man, like Aiden Lynch stepping in there, I thought those guys really, really had a nice game. And we didn't even talk about Johnny Garrett not playing. And I know you're not going to be going up against that front every week, but still, to see that progression was good to see. So here we go. Play the youngins and let them audition for the new staff. Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to be forced to have to do that anyway. Like a lot of these guys are going to have decisions to make on if they stay, go, and but yeah, it's definitely really valuable to see it at this level, see it on this grass for prospective staffs, the current staff, and other shooters. So definitely you got to go let those young guys play. Don't look now, but Clemson also starting to empty out at home, down 20. Yeah, I know. I just saw that game right before I jumped on here. Pretty crazy. Like I know I've been super high on Cade Klubnik in the past, but that looks like, and like I said, I don't think Clemson's going to move on from Dabo. Me personally, if I'm just speaking from my opinion, I don't think they should move on from Dabo because he'll go somewhere else. I know Alabama and a lot of other places that he has ties, and he's obviously a really great coach. It's odd when you see such a team, and it's like Virginia Tech a year ago. You have all these veteran guys come back, and you just expect them to take that next step, and it's like maybe they are just what they are. There's a lot of really good talented players on that team, so I think they will get it going in the right direction. But man, they're when you just watch them energy wise, and I know there's not an analysis like energy wise, but when you watch them, it obviously something's off right now. In your opinion, if they played like they did today, do they beat ODU? No, honestly, I don't think so. I think it'd be closer. I think they were playing a lot more free. I think Wofford was giving them a lot on defense. They were definitely playing off. Like it wasn't press man. They weren't really testing them. And Kyron was really getting whatever he wanted. I think against ODU, he was getting tested a lot more in those tighter windows. So no, I still think the ODU result stands out. I think ODU's front on both sides of the ball would have given Tech a bigger challenge, especially with this offensive line dinged up like it was. But I think this was super valuable to build the confidence up. And I think NC State next week will be super interesting because NC State they've struggled here to start the year, and obviously Virginia Tech has as well. It'll be their first true road test. I know Atlanta, but that was neutral site. I know South Carolina probably had the edge, but still going to a real college campus and playing, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. And I've made a lot about it, but it'll be very, very notable to see who makes a trip on those buses and who has their name in the portal, who has their name sort of, I guess, on the way out of the team. But it was very interesting in this day and age of college football to see guys in sweats on the sideline, pretty much just sort of putting your hand up and opting out. So that was something that I guess we'll just have to get used to in this era of college football. But make sure to stay tuned into vtscoop.com. We'll have all the intel on that, on what we're hearing, both large scale with the general manager search, the athletic restructuring, the head coaching search, which players are going to be here. I know transfer portal season expedited is all that anyone wants to hear about in September, but it is going to be pretty important to see how this team shapes up for now and into the future with future staffs and administration coming in. So appreciate the support, everyone. It's just sometimes I can't believe I get to do this. I don't take it for granted. So I really appreciate everyone jumping in here and making this dream go on. So it's a beautiful day in Blacksburg. Enjoy the rest of your college football day. Make sure to check this out and share it with a friend. But if not, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. Have a great week, and God bless. We'll see you next time on Monday at 8:30. See ya.